Jax's revenge domain. The copier was still warm when I pulled the document out of the output tray. It was a Sunday morning, 7:14 a.m. I'd driven into the office to pull year-end receivables before the week started. Nobody else was supposed to be there. The parking lot was empty. The building smelled like stale coffee and floor wax the way it always did on weekends. I walked past the front desk, down the hall to my office, and on the way I noticed the green light blinking on the copier in the conference room. Someone had used it recently. I almost kept walking. The document in the tray was 9 pages. The header read, Caldwell Supply Co. Proposed restructuring and share transfer agreement. BuildMax Corp. Was named as the acquiring party. I stood there in the empty hallway and read all 9 pages. By page 4, my hands had stopped moving. By page 7, I understood exactly what I was looking at. Section 7.4 gave BuildMax the right to restructure senior management within 90 days of closing. Senior management. That was me. I photographed every page. Put the document back exactly as I found it. Walked to my office. Sat down. Opened a new spreadsheet and typed one word at the top, timeline. My name is Nolan Harmon. I'm 54 years old. I've spent the last 15 years as CFO of Caldwell Supply Co., a building materials distributor out of Dallas, Texas. 3 warehouses, 34 employees, $8.5 million in annual revenue. I turned this company around when it was losing $1.2 million a year. Did it in 18 months. And not once in all those years did anyone in the Caldwell family look at me and say the words I'd been waiting to hear. You belong here. What I didn't know that Sunday morning was how close I was to losing everything. The company, my kids, 15 years of work, all at once. What I also didn't know was that by the time it was over, I'd finally get those words, just not the way I expected. I met Sloan Caldwell at a charity auction in Dallas in 2001. I was 30, she was 28. Auburn hair, confident the way people are when they've never had to wonder where the money was coming from. Her father, Walter Caldwell Sr., had built Caldwell Supply from nothing, started it in 1978 out of a garage in Garland with 2 employees and a pickup truck. By the time I met Sloan, it was a solid regional operation, not glamorous, but real, the kind of business that shows up Monday morning no matter what. Walter I liked immediately. He built things with his hands before he built them with contracts. We got married fast, maybe too fast, looking back. But I was in love with her, and I believed in what her family had made. We waited several years before starting a family. Sloan wanted to travel. I was building my freelance CFO practice across the Dallas-Fort Worth area, taking on small and mid-sized clients who needed someone to keep their books honest. Numbers were always my language. They don't lie to you. They just tell you the truth and wait for you to do something about it. Owen was born in 2010, Paige in 2013. Having kids changed something in me. The work stopped being about building a reputation and started being about building something they could see. In 2008, Caldwell Supply hit a wall. The financial crisis dried up credit. Their biggest contractor clients started defaulting on invoices. Receivables had ballooned to nearly $900,000 money owed, but not collected, sitting on the books like a slow leak. Re-eyed Caldwell, Sloan's older brother and VP of sales, had let it get there. He was 41 then, charming in meetings, thin on follow-through. Walter called me in, not as a son-in-law, but as a CPA. Nolan, I need someone I can trust with the real numbers. I spent 6 months restructuring payment terms, cutting 2 vendor contracts that were burning margin, renegotiating the credit line with their bank. By end of 2009, they were cash flow positive. Walter asked me to stay on full-time as CFO. I said yes, because I thought it meant I was finally part of something. Re-eyed never forgave me for it. I didn't understand that until much later. From 2009 to 2019, we managed to coexist. Reed kept his lane. I kept mine. The company grew. We opened a 3rd warehouse in 2015. Walter was proud. Things felt, if not warm, at least stable. Then 2019 came and the temperature dropped. Sloan started pulling away in the way that's hard to name when you're in the middle of it. She'd leave rooms when I walked in. She'd be gone Saturday mornings without explanation. She started talking about the company's future using language I hadn't heard from her before. Reed's language. Words like legacy and family vision and what the Caldwells built. Like I wasn't sitting right there. Like I hadn't spent a decade keeping what the Caldwells built from going under. I noticed it the way I notice everything, in patterns. Small deviations from baseline. A variance you can't explain yet, but you write it down because you know it'll matter later. I just didn't know how much. The first concrete thing I found was the phone recording. I'd left my personal phone on the conference room table by accident. One Thursday evening, walked out mid-conversation with a vendor, forgot it was there. When I came back 40 minutes later, Sloan and Reed were inside with the door closed. I could hear voices but not words. I picked up my phone from the chair just outside the door and kept walking. That night, I noticed the voice memo app had triggered. The phone had been close enough to the HVAC vent that the vibration started a recording. 41 minutes of audio, mostly muffled, but 2 stretches were clear. Read. Once she files, we move the same week. Holden already has the termination language drafted. Conflict of interest, husband and CFO. Can't separate the roles once it's a divorce proceeding, Sloan. And the BuildMax timeline. Read, 90 days after filing. By the time he figures out what Section 7.4 means, it's already done. I sat in my home office and listened to that twice. Then I closed the app, put the phone face down on the desk, and looked at the wall for a while. Sloan knew she wasn't a bystander being managed by Reed. She was in the room asking about timelines. That was the part that recalibrated everything. I'd spent months telling myself she was drifting, distracted, going through something she hadn't told me about yet. That's what you do when you don't want to see what's actually in front of you. You give the variance a benign explanation and move on. The variance wasn't benign. It never had been. I called Tanner Wade the next morning. Tanner is a forensic accountant I'd worked with 8 years earlier on a fraud case for a manufacturing client in Fort Worth. He'd since semi-retired, but he still took cases that interested him. I told him I needed an independent audit of Caldwell Supply's vendor accounts for the past 3 years. I told him why. He was quiet for a moment, then said, "Send me the access credentials. I'll start Monday." Tanner worked for 3 weeks. What he found was patient and deliberate and ugly. Ride had been routing payments to a vendor called Apex Materials LLC since 2021. On paper, Apex was a building materials supplier. Invoices for delivery of roofing underlayment, structural fasteners, waterproofing membrane. Credible line items for a company like ours. The invoices were formatted correctly, the dates were spread out. The individual amounts, $18,000 here, $22,000 there, were all just under the $25,000 threshold that triggered my mandatory secondary review. Ree had studied the internal controls I built and designed his fraud to stay underneath them. Tanner traced Apex Materials LLC to a P.O. box in Plano. The registered agent on the LLC formation documents was Reed Allen Caldwell. He'd set it up in March 2021 using a secondary email address that wasn't in our company directory. Total payments to Apex over 31 months, $180,000. But the part that made everything worse was the authorization paperwork. 3 of those payments, each over $40,000, which required board chairman sign-off under our bylaws, had been authorized by Walter Caldwell Sr. I pulled Walter's authenticated signature from a notarized bank covenant we'd filed with our lender in 2018. Tanner brought in a document examiner he'd used before. The comparison took 2 days. The signatures on the Apex authorizations didn't match. The pen pressure was lighter. The capital W in Walter had a different breakpoint. The examiner put it in writing. These were not signed by the same hand as the 2018 authenticated sample. Walter hadn't signed those forms. Someone who had regular access to his office, his desk, and his schedule had signed them for him. Sloan managed Walter's calendar. She was the one who brought him paperwork when he came in on Tuesdays. She was the one who sat with him while he signed things, because his vision had gotten worse, and he liked having someone read the key points aloud before he put his name down. I sat with that information for 2 days before I decided what to do with it. Here's the thing about being a CFO in a family business. You see everything, and you learn very fast that seeing everything doesn't mean you can say everything. I had 15 years of keeping my head down, doing the work, staying in my lane. I'd watched Reed take credit for revenue growth that came from margin improvements I'd made in our vendor contracts. I'd watched Sloan tell dinner party guests that her family's company was thriving without mentioning who'd restructured it from the edge of insolvency. I'd let it go year after year because I thought belonging meant accepting the terms you were given. I was wrong about that, and I was done being wrong about it. There was one more thing Tanner flagged before I made my next move. Among the board meeting minutes from the previous 14 months, there were 3 sessions I had no record of attending because I hadn't been invited. Agenda items included CFO role review, future leadership structure, and strategic partnership opportunities. All three had been marked as informal sessions, which under Caldwell Supply's bylaws didn't require full board notification. Reed had used that loophole to have conversations about removing me from the company without ever having to put it on an official agenda where I'd see it. He'd done everything right, procedurally, just like I'd taught him, watching how I ran the controls, learning where the edges were. The difference between us was simple. He built his case on documents that couldn't hold up. I built mine on ones that could, and now I had enough to walk into Walter Caldwell's kitchen and show him exactly what his son had done with the company he'd spent his life building. I drove to Walter's house on a Tuesday morning. Sloan was at yoga. Reed was at the office. I brought 2 cups of coffee and a manila folder. Walter answered the door in a flannel shirt and reading glasses pushed up on his forehead. He looked surprised to see me on a Tuesday morning, not suspicious. Just surprised. He stepped back and let me in without asking why I'd come. His kitchen smelled like toast and coffee. A folded newspaper sat on the table next to a half-empty mug, the Dallas Morning News. He still got the print edition. He sat down across from me slowly, the way a 79-year-old man sits when his knees have opinions about it, and he looked at the folder I'd set on the table, but didn't reach for it. "How are the kids?" he asked first. "Good," I said. "Owen made the honor roll. Paige wants a dog." He smiled at that. Then he looked at the folder again. "This isn't a social call. No, sir, it's not." I didn't editorialize. I didn't tell him how I felt about what I'd found or what I thought it meant for our family. I just opened the folder and walked him through it, the same way I'd walk a client through a variance report. Here's the number, here's where it came from, here's where it went. The Apex Materials invoices, the LLC registration with Reed's name on it, the bank statements showing $180,000 moved out over 31 months, the signature comparison, the 2008 authenticated sample from our bank covenant, next to the 3 Apex authorizations. The document examiner's written opinion. Walter didn't say anything for a long time. He picked up the signature comparison page and held it close, squinting even with the glasses. His hands were steady. I'll give him that. After everything I put in front of him, his hands stayed steady. Finally, he set the page down and looked at me. "Did Sloan know about this?" I told him the truth. I told him about the recording from the conference room. I told him what she'd said about the timeline. He nodded once, slowly, like he was filing it somewhere inside himself, where it would be safe to look at later. Then he looked out the window at the backyard, the oak tree he'd planted when the house was new, the same yard his grandchildren ran around in every Thanksgiving. He stayed like that for almost a full minute. Then he said, "Get me my attorney, not the company's, mine." Walter's personal attorney was Carol Briggs, who had handled Walter's private legal affairs since 1991. Walter called him from the kitchen table while I sat there, told him to come to the house that afternoon, told him to bring his notary stamp. I drove back to the office. I had 4 hours before Carol arrived at Walter's house, and I needed to use them. This was the part I hadn't told Tanner about yet. 3 members of my accounting team had been approached by Reed in the previous 6 weeks. He'd gone to them individually off-site once at a bar near the Addison office park, twice over lunch at a diner on Preston Road. He'd asked them to backdate 3 invoice records to make the Apex payments look like legitimate retroactive adjustments. Make it look like goods were received late, invoices processed out of cycle. A credible explanation if anyone ever looked. 2 of the 3 had come to me the same week Reed approached them. Good people. They didn't want any part of it. I'd asked them to keep accepting his calls, to respond without committing to anything, and to report back. They did. The 3rd had gone quiet. That was my false exposure, the variable I couldn't fully control. If he cooperated with Reed and those backdated records got into the system before I moved, it would create enough noise to delay everything and give BuildMax's lawyers something to argue over. I pulled that employee's system access that afternoon. Standard IT protocol, I cited a routine security audit which was accurate enough. He couldn't modify any records without going through an approval chain that now routed directly to me. The gap was closed. At 4:30 p.m., Carol Briggs called. The financial authorization forms Reed had been using were revoked. A new protocol required Carol to co-sign any board authorization over $20,000. He'd also drafted letters to Caldwell Supply's 2 independent board members, men Walter had personally appointed in 2017, requesting an emergency session within 72 hours. Reed received the board meeting notice that evening by email. Agenda, quarterly operations review. He replied in 20 minutes, confirmed. See everyone Thursday." He had no idea. That night, I sat at the kitchen table after Owen and Paige were in bed. The house was quiet. I thought about the version of this that didn't work, the one where the third employee had already made his choice, where the backdated records were already in the system, where BuildMax's lawyers pointed at the paper trail and the board accepted the deal before I reached Walter. That version had been maybe 10 days away from being real. I thought about what I almost lost. Not the title, not the equity. The Tuesday mornings when Paige climbed into my lap while I read the paper. Owen calling me from school to tell me about a test he'd aced. Those things don't go in a spreadsheet, but you fight for them the same way you fight for anything that matters. Carefully, with everything you have, without making mistakes you can't walk back. Thursday morning I arrived at 6:45 a.m. Tanner Wade was already in the parking lot, his forensic report bound and tabbed. Carol was inside signing the visitor log. The two independent board members arrived together at 7:10. At 7:58, Reed's BMW pulled in. He walked through the front door carrying coffee and his laptop bag, nodding at the receptionist. Completely relaxed, he pushed open the conference room door and stopped. Walter Caldwell Sr. was sitting at the head of the table. Reed stood in the doorway for about 3 seconds. Long enough for the math to hit him. Walter at the head of the table. Tanner Wade with a bound report. Carol Briggs with a legal pad. Two independent board members who answered to nobody in Reed's orbit. And me sitting where I always sat, second chair on the left, the CFO's seat, with a second copy of everything in front of me. He recovered fast, I'll give him that. He walked in, set his coffee down, pulled out his chair. "Morning, Dad. Didn't know you were coming in." Walter didn't answer. He looked at me. I presented the findings the same way I present any financial report. No theatrics, no personal commentary. Just the numbers in order with sources cited. Apex Materials LLC, $180,000 in fraudulent vendor payments over 31 months, routed to an entity solely owned and controlled by Reed Allen Caldwell. LLC formation documents, bank records, and payment authorizations submitted as Exhibits A through F. 3 board authorization forms bearing signatures inconsistent with Walter Caldwell Sr.'s authenticated sample. Document examiner's written opinion submitted as Exhibit G. The BuildMax share transfer agreement, negotiated without full board notification, containing a Section 7.4 management restructuring clause that would have triggered CFO termination within 90 days of closing. Agreement documents and email correspondence submitted as Exhibits H through M. Evidence of Reed approaching 3 members of the accounting staff to request backdated invoice records. Recorded communications and written statements from 2 of those employees submitted as Exhibits N and O. When I finished, the room was quiet enough that you could hear the air conditioning. Reed tried twice. First time. These numbers are out of context. There's a legitimate explanation for the apex relationship. Walter raised one hand just slightly off the table. Reed stopped. Second time about 2 minutes later. Quieter. "Dad, I was trying to protect the family's interest. Nolan was always going to be a liability once the marriage." Walter raised the same hand. Same height. Reed stopped again. That was the whole thing right there. One old man's hand, 30 years of authority behind it. Reed had spent 2 years building a case to remove me from this company, and it collapsed in about 40 minutes because he'd built it on paper that couldn't hold weight. The vote was 3-0. Reed removed as VP effective immediately. The BuildMax agreement declared void due to insufficient board authorization. Civil recovery proceedings initiated for $180,000. Holden Price, the company's outside attorney who had drafted the BuildMax agreement without disclosing the Section 7.4 clause to the full board, was reported to the State Bar of Texas. BuildMax's legal team called Carol Briggs the following Monday. Once they confirmed the deal had been structured on fraudulent board authorizations, they withdrew without argument. They had no interest in acquiring a company mid-litigation. That door closed clean. Reed settled the civil suit 4 months later, $162,000 reduced from $180,000 in exchange for a signed admission and cooperation with the State Bar investigation. He's done in the Dallas-Fort Worth building supply industry. That world runs on credit terms and handshakes and reputation, and his has gone. Nobody in 3 counties will take a meeting with him now. Sloan and I finalized the divorce the same month. She hadn't gotten what she'd planned on. The BuildMax deal was supposed to push me out of the company before the proceedings started. No CFO contract, no seat at the table, no leverage. Instead, I walked into mediation with my contract intact, my forensic documentation on record, and a company that had just voted to keep me. Her attorney was competent. He just didn't have much to work with. I got primary custody of Owen and Paige. We stayed in the house in Plano. 6 weeks after everything settled, Walter called me on a Sunday evening. He said he'd been working with Carol on updates to his estate planning. He was leaving me 15% equity in Caldwell Supply Co. He said he should have done it years ago. He said that a man who saves something deserves to own a piece of it. Then he said something I've thought about more than I expected to. He said, "You were always family, Nolan. I just didn't say it out loud often enough. That's on me." I didn't know what to do with that in the moment. I thanked him and we talked for a few more minutes and then we hung up. I sat in the kitchen after the call. Owen was in his room, Paige was asleep. The house was quiet. 15 years. That's how long I'd been waiting for those words. Not the equity. Not the title, though. Walter changed that to COO and CFO. First operational title I'd ever held at that company. The words that I belonged there. That it was mine, too. Caldwell Supply hit $1,122 million in revenue this past year. Some of that is market growth. Most of it is what happens when you remove $180,000 in fraudulent vendor costs. Restructure 2 contracts Reed had tilted in his favor, and get your receivables under 45 days outstanding. The company runs cleaner now. It always does when the people running it have something real at stake. I coach Paige's soccer team on Saturday mornings. Owen and I drive in together on school holidays. He does his homework in the empty conference room while I run through the weekly reports. He told me once it's quiet in there, good quiet. I told him that's because we finally got rid of the noise. If you've spent years building something, a business, a career, a reputation, and the people around you are treating it like it's theirs to take, hear this. Documentation beats accusation every time. Patience beats panic. And the truth, when you've built it carefully and kept it clean, is always stronger than a lie that depends on you not looking closely enough. They counted on me being too distracted to notice. That was the only mistake they needed to make. If this story hit close to home, hit like and leave a comment below. Subscribe for new stories every week. And if you know someone who needs to hear that the patient guy sometimes wins, send this to him. He'll know why.